Cosmic Confluence podcast, the space where we explore the intersection of inner transformation and real world impact. I'm your host, Sana, as always. Listeners, for this episode, we are going to dive into a topic that I believe it hits close to home for so many out there, especially, creatives and professionals, which is conscious repatterning and rewriting our energetic story. Now, these are the few questions which come to my mind when I think about this particular topic. That how do the narratives that we tell ourselves often unconsciously they shape our success, our choices, and the way we show up in the world? And more importantly, how do we shift them when they're holding us back? And listeners, joining me is someone who's uniquely qualified to answer these questions, Dr. Albert Charles Bramante. Now, let me share a bit about Dr. Albert with all of you. He has spent over 20 years as a veteran talent agent, helping actors land magic roles. And now he combines that experience with a PhD in psychology and certifications in hypnosis and NLP. Now, Dr. Bramante, he helps performers break through self-doubt, imposter syndrome, and other hidden roadblocks that can sabotage their success. So today we are going to unravel the stories that we carry, how they are formed, how they hold us back, and how we can consciously rewrite them. So whether you are in the creative field, you are a business professional, or you are simply ready for a change, this conversation is for you. And with that, Dr. Albert, welcome to the show. And I'm really, really honored to have you here with us.
I really want to thank you for having me, and I'm really happy to be here and to join you on this wonderful talk.
Absolutely. Okay, so Dr. Albert, of course, you have such an enriching experience, enhanced by, psychology, a PhD in psychology, and then experience on hypnosis and NLP. So, for listeners who are not aware, including myself as well, what exactly does conscious repatterning mean? I mean, are we literally talking about changing our thoughts, or is it something deeper than that?
Well, it on the surface, that's what it really entails is changing our thoughts and the way that we approach situations and the way we react to things. So very often we're either thinking or we're reacting. In a typical conversation, somebody says something to us, we react to that. With conscious
Mhm.
patterning, it's sort of like the way I look at it is like we're changing the way we react. We're changing in a sense what triggers us, what motivates us, and what drives us. We're changing that and being actively involved in that change. That's what in a sense what conscious is all about.
Mm,
So we're involved in that changing. So in other words, what might trigger us 2 weeks ago might not affect us anymore. And that also occurs through as we mature. If we take
mhm,
a journal, let's say what causes some fear or worry, and then we look at it a year later, we're gonna find that most of the stuff that we were worried about or concerned about really does not matter anymore because we changed, thinking or our thinking has evolved.
yeah, that really really makes sense. And I I mean, some of us would think that even if is it like possible for me or not? Because that's where I think you know your approach of combining psychology coupled with real world strategies, they definitely give credibility into this. And also, Dr. Albert, as you explained about conscious repatterning, um, uh, is it possible or realistic to think that these thoughts or deeper beliefs they can change on their own with experience or some life changing event, or do they need outside help?
It depends. I mean, it definitely can sometimes happen faster if we can get some outside help, with, like, through a coach or a
Mm.
therapist. However, we also have our brain, or our brain is really incredibly sophisticated
Yeah.
and beyond belief, and it will change over time, even if we don't do anything in a sense. But if we want to change faster, it just requires a little bit of active work, concentration, practice, and active engagement. So there's nothing wrong with spending, 5 or 10 minutes out of your day just being focused on your thoughts.
Hmm. No, that doesn't harm. And I think starting with 5-10 minutes also, it's like, taking small steps, and who helps in making that, that rhythm, building that consistency in an easier, sustainable way.
Absolutely, and what you had said is important. Small steps, and small steps take action. Will create action over time, and it's important to kind of start small because it's more likely to stick. If we're going to be doing such a work on ourselves, we want it to be, semi permanent or fully permanent, so it's long lasting. So therefore, it's important to start small.
Hmm.
Take some small steps, every day, in a sense.
Totally, totally. Dr. Albert, talking about your experience from the world of theaters and performance. So you have worked with some high level performers, and rejection is something that that is quite familiar to
Mhm.
them. So um, from your observations, does constantly failing forward, does it actually help people grow resilience, or uh, does it strengthen or deepen negative self narratives if they're not careful?
Yeah, well, you mentioned a good point about, and it's the important way of looking at it is failing forward. So
Mm.
we want to be able to fail forward, not backwards. And what that means when we come from a perspective of failing forward, all the failure that we have or that we've experienced is feedback.
Mhm.
And if
Mm.
we frame it that way, it's when we say failing forward, which means we're going up the ladder to success. So
Mm-mm.
we're not upset about the failure. We're not, beating ourselves up or being sad about the failure. What we're doing is saying, okay, this is a learning experience. What can I learn from this? And therefore, once you fail up, there's only one way to go, and that's continue going up.
Hmm. I love that. I love that. And um now I'll just bring a bit of a nuance here. Now, when we talk about energetic stories, or focusing too much on energy within us. Now, some people would say here, Dr. Albert, that it can often lead to toxic positivity, um, and we start blaming ourselves for every setback. So, how do you differentiate conscious repatterning from that kind of self blame cycle?
Well, we take the emotional charge out of it and saying, okay, what is the lesson I need to learn here, and how can I improve that to be further? So,
Mhm.
and you mentioned a good point about toxic positivity. So we're not saying that necessarily everything is great all the time, because
Mhm.
then when you do that, you kind of minimize or negate the negative experiences that somebody's experienced, because that's important too.
Mm.
So what we can do is say, okay, what did we learn from this? Forget about, let's not at this point focus on the emotional side of things. What's the core lesson here? What
Exactly.
and what's the core lesson in the adversity that we faced? Because when we're able to do that, that's where true growth is going to come in.
Hmm. That is true. That is such a practical approach in there, because um, w- I think it kind of sometimes becomes an echo chamber within us that, it's fine, everything is fine, everything will be better because, failure is a stepping stone to success. But then if we are not able to extract important lessons from those failures, I think that really becomes a slippery slope.
It can be. It can be a slippery slope if we're not able to, again, adapt and learn from that feedback.
True. And also, um, apart from this aspect, self doubt, around self doubt. Now, uh, kind of, I believe that sometimes there's a very thin line between self doubt and self awareness. Um, there's also one perspective that sometimes self doubt can be motivating, that,
Mhm.
keeps people sharp and striving for better, for perfection. Out completely, or we can have a healthy balance in there.
I'm not sure, and this again just my perspective. I'm not sure that eliminating self doubt is either possible or advisable
Mhm.
because it's what keeps us humble to some level. Now, what we can do is manage it to a point where it's not holding us back. It's not causing us any excess worry or sadness.
Mhm.
So if we can isolate it from that and say, okay, let it not hold me back, but at the same time, what can I learn from it? Because we're not perfect. I mean, none of us are perfect beings, and
Yeah.
what we can do is if we look at each day as like as we're appreciating ourselves, we're also getting better and better every day.
Mhm.
So I think if we look at it like and say, okay, every day I'm getting better and better in every way, that can be definitely a way to go.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah. And do you think procrastination is kind of a symptom or an output of the self doubt?
Yes, I do think it's a symptom because what happens very often with procrastination is we're waiting for the good moment, the right moment to strike, the right moment to do something. Now, if you're operating on a cycle of self doubt, that right moment may never come. And
Mm-mm.
therefore, that's why a lot of people sit on their dreams for years and may never even do that and reach it because they're waiting for the right moment. When that moment to strike, and go for it is any time really.
Mm. Perfect. And do you have any success story, or any story where you have actually seen that kind of conscious repatterning working out?
Well, even, as a college professor, I worked with several students, and
Mhm.
even just getting rid of that class participation anxiety. I had one student I remember, first day of the semester, who had told me that they didn't want to participate, didn't like participating at all in class. And
The-
what I did was I didn't challenge her directly. I wasn't confrontational or, negative. I didn't respond negatively. I was just hearing what she had to say. And then helped her reframe to look, you have things, you've experiences,
Mhm.
perspectives that everybody in class, including myself, can benefit from.
Mhm.
And we love to hear it. And one thing for sure is from a student who told me that they didn't want to participate, by the end of the semester, she was one of the most vocal ones in the class.
Wow.
So it's just a lot of time by just changing that simple perspective or way of looking at things. Now, I didn't really inquire about her past, but it could be a number of reasons why she didn't want to participate. Maybe she was ridiculed in the past, or embarrassed in the past, or maybe scolded by a teacher, her school teacher, when she was
Mhm.
growing up as a child. And that just made her create, where she was operating in a pattern where I just won't talk.
Wow. That's really, really kind of saying inspiring, actually. Um, Great, great. And any practical steps or any more than that, more than one that you would suggest that someone can tell whether their self doubt is fueling growth or holding them back.
Well, the one thing is to I the power of journaling is really good. So write down your thought. What are your thoughts holding you back? Whether are you do you feel you're not good enough? Do you feel you're not ready? And then take also another step is to reflect back on the successes that you've had and
Mm-hmm.
celebrate those. And then you can start to eventually know when to take action because again, a lot of times we're operating a lot of times fear can take over. And when
Yeah.
fear takes over, that can be a very powerful mechanism.
Hmm. I mean, so you mentioned about power journaling. That's a very, I think, one of the most, basic, most fundamental part when, we are uh, talking about any aspect, especially in terms of subconscious patterns or stuff like that. But what's the difference between journaling and power journaling, Dr. Albert? And I'm just curious to know.
Um, well, it's more about writing everything down and writing the impact of what it really means to you in a sense.
Oh, okay.
Um, and really holding nothing back, like
Mm.
really just pouring out and then looking at that and then reflecting on it, of course, what you wrote,
Mm-hmm.
and then just going from there. And then really, taking that a notch up and saying, "Okay, how can I use this information to change my life, to change my thoughts?"
Mm. That's interesting. That's interesting. Really? So, Dr. Bramante, if listeners they would like to connect with you for more wisdom and guidance on this, what would be the best way?
So you can go to my website, albertbramante.com. You can also find me on LinkedIn under Albert Bramante. I'm connected to the Healthy Mind, so you can find me through there. Um, and just I'd love to hear from you.
Awesome. Awesome. I'll make sure to have all the details there. And thank you so much, Dr. Albert Bramante, because I believe you really gave some very profound insights into conscious repatterning, and I think it really made it clear what it really takes to change the stories or the narratives that shape our lives. So thank you so much.
Well, thank you.
Awesome. So for all the listeners out there on Cosmic Confluence, I hope you're walking away with the understanding that conscious repatterning, if I could summarize it, it isn't about perfection or forcing yourself to just think positive and everything good is going to happen.
Mhm.
It is about recognizing that patterns don't serve you anymore and kind of choosing, sometimes maybe with small steps and slowly, imperfectly, to write a different story of your own. So, with that, if you found value in this conversation, please share it with a friend or your loved one who might need a reminder that change is definitely possible. And also make sure to follow us, Cosmic Confluence, of course, wherever you listen to the podcast. Until next time, this is your host, Sana, and this has been Cosmic Confluence. Thank you.